These are 8 tight end sleepers and busts for 2023 redraft fantasy football leagues. We're going to go through and give you 4 sleepers and 4 busts, the tight end position. Based off of their ADP for the sleepers, it's going to kind of be round 8-ish or after. And for busts, it could be, anyone that we think will bust. So we'll start off with the 4 sleepers. I will start us off with Dalton Kincaid. You can get him in the 11th round or maybe a little bit later. He's definitely risen up some draft boards here, but this is a guy that could be possibly the number 2 target for Josh Allen. It's most likely Gabe, but it could be Dalton Kincaid, and you get basically a wide receiver for Josh Allen in one of the pass heaviest offenses, and you get to put him in your tight end slot. So, I mean, that already is a massive advantage for someone going this late. He's in my opinion, the guy after like pick 100 that has the biggest upside, that could finish very, very high, like top 3 even at the tight end position if things break his way. He was considered to be the best pass catching tight end out of college. And of course, the Bills traded up to get him. They wanted their Travis Kelce. They wanted their Gronkowski. That's who they envisioned Dalton Kincaid to be. So, yeah, I'm all in on Dalton Kincaid this year. If you miss out, I still like I love Mark Andrews this year, but if you miss out on some of the early elite guys, Dalton Kincaid, especially in home leagues, I think will go overlooked, and you can get him later there.
Yeah, they're running a lot of what they're calling like 11 and a half personnel. So they've got Knox and Kincaid on the field at the same time, and Kincaid is basically just the slot receiver. So getting to put a slot receiver in the Bills offense at your tight end spot that late in the draft is just awesome.
Yeah, it could, it's just it's a risk. This is like, I don't think it can really break horribly for you here. I mean, it's a rookie, so that's the biggest downside. But like, I just think there's way too much upside at a position that it's not like receiver, running back. We're taking on the risk is like even more risky. It's the tight end. Like if you actually just drop him, and there could be another tight end, you just stream him, whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's no Isaiah McKenzie anymore. There's still there's less mouths to feed.
Like Deontay Hardy is their like third receiver.
Yeah,
for sure. So, all right, second sleeper here. We got another juggernaut offense. This one's down in Cincinnati. We have Irv Smith going as tight end 17 right now. Obviously, you want to get a guy in the top 12 if you got a 12-person league at least, right? We think he could eclipse that. So, obviously, 22.
Yeah, later.
Even worse, or I guess better, depending on where you get him. So, obviously, he's got Joey Burr, but I think he's 25 years old. It's right at that age where tight ends really start to break out. So we're targeting a lot of guys at this age range, and he's in the best offense he's ever been. At least with the most elite quarterback, especially in prime time. Shout out to Kirk Cousins. But he's a great sleeper this year, especially with some of the guys going ahead of him like Taysom Hill. Just doesn't make any sense. So take a shot on Irv Smith. Opportunity cost is low. He's our sleeper number 2.
Yeah, I think just like targeting these later guys in good offenses is like how you attack position if you miss out on the elite guys. Like that's who you should be taking the shots on.
Yeah, which brings us to sleeper number 3 here, who is all about the opportunity, and that is going to be Tyler Higbee. We've talked about him before on our shows. Again, he's a fan favorite. He's tight end 16 off the board, around 12 and a half here is when he's going. He is the type of player that you look for at these later rounds, because he's the second option on a pass heavy team with literally no one else there besides Cooper Kupp. He's the number 2 option. There's no one else in that receiving room. There's not really a backup tight end that's taking away snap share. So I mean, last year through the first 5 games with Matthew Stafford, he had a staggering 48 targets in 5 games. Obviously, Matthew Stafford got hurt, and that went down. And obviously, he finished off the year actually pretty well, considering Baker Mayfield, John Wolford, and Joe Schmo were throwing the ball there in LA. So I mean, he finished with 108 targets. That was 4th among all tight ends, 5th in receptions with 72 and 620 receiving yards. So obviously he wasn't scoring that many touchdowns. I believe he only had 3 or 4 last year. And that's what you want from your tight ends. And I think with Matthew Stafford back at the helm there, we'll kind of see what he did back in 2021 when they won the Super Bowl, and he was again a pivotal part of the offense and was scoring touchdowns. He had a 22% target share for among all the receiving options in LA, which is, again, that's a tight end. That's a massive amount of targets going towards him. He finished 4th in target share in 2022. He's a name that's going so far down on the list that if you get a tight end that far down who's finishing 4th in target share, I mean, you're going to expect him to finish higher than where he did, which was tight end 18 last year. So I mean, again, there's the opportunity cost here for a player like Tyler Higbee is something that you want to target. And he is by far one of our favorite sleepers to take. I mean, I can't get enough Tyler Higbee on my teams.
Yeah, I love taking Higbee.
Yeah. Okay, so rounding us out here on the tight end sleepers is Gerald Everett, going in that kind of Irv Smith range, middle of the 15th round, very late in drafts. Gerald Everett's coming off of career highs last year in receptions and yards, finished as tight end 10, including the playoffs last year. This dude is no slouch. He's also got one of the best quarterbacks in the league in what could be the best offense in the league, and as we touched on, probably the pass heaviest offense in the league. Herbert finished top 10 in TD percentage rating 2 years ago, had dropped a little bit last year because of that rib injury, but I fully expect him to return to that form. You've got Kellen Moore stepping in. We saw what he did with Dalton Schultz. He made him an every down tight end with a every down role. So Gerald Everett's going to be getting a ton of looks, and you're getting him as the cheapest piece in what is likely one of the top, if not the top offenses going into the season, led by a top quarterback. I mean, going after a guy this late, he's in that Irv Smith conversation of just, obviously there's a ton of mouths to feed, but those offenses produce at a level that everyone can eat. So if you miss out on the big guys, or you're looking to get, a streamer, or even, 2 of these later round tight ends, I think Gerald Everett is a great option for that type of strategy.
Yeah. You just want a piece of the Chargers offense.
Yeah, exactly.
He's cheap.
Yeah, and you should be loaded up at every other position if you're taking someone like this late.
Yeah.
All right. Now we'll go to our 4 busts. So first bust, we got Cole Kmet going in around the 11th round. So I was just talking about Dalton Kincaid. He basically goes a pick after Kincaid. So would you rather have a guy on the Bills offense, potentially the number 2, even if he's the number 3, on one of the pass heaviest offenses with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league, or would you rather have Cole Kmet, who's on one of the least pass friendly offenses, that now added DJ Moore and a full offseason of Chase Claypool? It makes no sense to me why Cole Kmet should be going, in my opinion, like after Irv Smith, after Gerald Everett, like one of the last round undrafted. I don't even think he should be drafted in my opinion. No, I don't. Like last year, he thrived on touchdown efficiency. He had, where is it here? So in the last 4 weeks, 5 of his red zone targets he had 4 touchdowns, and that made up. He had 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, his touchdown efficiency was just like through the roof. And you had DJ Moore, Claypool. He had 70 targets. I expect that to decline rapidly. He's like a 400 to 500 yard and a few touchdown type of guy to me. Like that's what Cole Kmet is. If you draft him, you're going to be immediately dropping him very shortly after. He especially where he goes. He goes in like I said, the 11th round. Like there's some great running backs you can take shots on there that have lots of upside. Even some receivers that we mentioned in our last episode in this exact range. Like you are just doing fantasy wrong if you draft Cole Kmet this year.
Yeah, they paid him though, PB. They paid
They,
him.
they paid him, and that is
Top
the
five.
one thing that he has going for him. But it's just like
I don't know what that was.
they don't pass the damn ball; they run like crazy, you know. And they added like DJ Moore, like they had no like alpha guy there, and Cole Kmet had 69 targets. Like that is going down for sure. And then he's not going to have this crazy touchdown efficiency. It's just this.
Yeah, he's not the piece of the Bears that I'm looking for as the homer picks.
Yeah,
Crazy. All right, let's talk about another overrated player. Out of Tennessee, we got Chig Okonkwo. He was a rookie last year. He had a pretty good rookie campaign. Kind of broke out towards the end of the year. Showed some good speed, but I think he was hyped up all this offseason because there was a chance that he could have been the target share leader, or at least neck and neck with Treylon Burks. But as we know, DeAndre Hopkins is now in town. So he's going to take a large percent of target share, demanding, 10 plus targets a game at minimum. So not great news for Chig. We also see Tyjae Spears, who is a rookie running back they drafted, start to be involved in the passing game, a role that Derrick Henry traditionally did not play. So for those short down plays, they're going to start looking at other places besides the tight end position like they did last year. So he's kind of an off-season loser in this sense. I think he's a great player, just not in the right system for him to be fantasy relevant. So avoid Chig.
Yeah, and then their offense is they're a run first team anyway. So it goes Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, maybe.
I don't know if Tyjae Spears has anything. That one threw me off. I was like, "What's Tyjae Spears?"
No, I mean, but
he's got to listen to some beat writers. This guy's breaking out. I mean,
yeah,
I know, but I always thought of Tyjae as more like a runner, like just like a backup to Henry, not as much of a pass catcher. But to me, it's it's Dalton Kincaid. Like right now, it's Kincaid, Chig, and Cole Kmet. Like they go like all pick after pick after pick. It's like, who are you taking there? It's Kincaid.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Okay. Well, coming in with another name here that's had a great rookie campaign. Last year was not as great as expected, and that is Pat Freiermuth. He is currently the tight end 9 coming off the board in round 7, which again, if you think about it, obviously, we talked about some sleepers in later rounds. Where he goes in the draft is just it is mind blowing with, what's around him. I mean, you got JSN, you got Jordan Addison, you got David Njoku, just a couple picks behind him. This is for a tight end for Freiermuth, who had a very up and down season last year. I mean, some of that has to do with Kenny Pickett being a rookie and, having, his issues there. But the biggest thing with a tight end, you want them to receive red zone targets and be a threat in the red zone. Last year, he had 10 red zone targets. That's it. I mean, that's crazy. That's usually where tight ends score the most points. He's not a fast, guy that like we talk about Kincaid who can line up in the slot. Just not that type of guy. I mean, last year he was, averaging around like 5.3 fantasy points per game. He's the third receiving threat on that team behind Deontay Johnson and Pickens. Even last year, I mean, you would think he was the number 1 tight end there, but he only had 69% of his snap share. And this year they bring in Darnell Washington, rookie tight end from Georgia, who's, a massive body. And, I'm assuming that they're going to try to work him in as well, because I mean, with someone that big and supposedly, that athletic,
see that one-handed catch.
Yeah. I mean,
he's just so massive. It's just like, you just throw him in the end zone and like, he just stands up there and, like a big ogre and catches
He's
it.
the same height and he's got like 40 pounds on LeBron.
Yeah.
Dude, seeing him stand next to some players, it's like, It looks ridiculous. It looks like players are like Photoshop next to it.
Yeah, so it does, so it's just another thing that just another person that come in and take snaps from him. And I mean, again, just based off his last year performance, I mean, he literally had like, I think 2 or 3 touchdowns last year. I mean, that's just horrible. And in his rookie year, he had 7. So again, Kenny Pickett has something to do with that. I understand Kenny Pickett is, supposedly going to be better this year, but I'm a player with his highest game last year with 8 catches and 79 yards. I mean, it's just someone that I want to avoid, especially in that round. That's the biggest thing. It's just where he's going in drafts is just, it's way too high. Like I said, there's a lot of other players behind him, and even sleepers we mentioned beforehand that I'd rather take a pick than take my tight end there.
Definitely. All right, rounding us out here on the tight end bust list is a guy out of Philly, Dallas Goedert, currently going in about the 5th round. Tight end 6 off the board, and for reference, his best finish was tight end 8 back in 2021. So he's already being drafted ahead of that 2 years later. He only had 1 game last year of more than 20 fantasy points, and over the last 2 seasons has only seen a total of 4 red zone targets. So for reference, Cole Kmet, in a significantly less pass-heavy offense, saw that more than that just in the last 4 weeks of the last season. Obviously, you've got Jalen Hurts is rushing upside in the red zone. You've got another big body in A.J. Brown. And then the Eagles always have a stable of running backs that are going to take away from these valuable red zone targets, which is where a lot of tight ends like to feast. So on top of that, you're taking him here in the 5th round, or someone in your league hopefully is, not you, because they probably feel like they missed out on like a Kelsey, and Andrews, a Hawkinson, some of these guys in front of them. But it's a waste of a pick, in our opinion. I mean, you can get guys at the skill positions that are much more valuable in the 5th round, and go for guys later in the draft at tight end that we mentioned in our sleepers. There's too many mouths to feed out in Philly, and he's not high enough on the totem pole for me to justify a 5th round pick on a guy who has finished tight end 8 in his best season ever. So I'm avoiding Dallas Goedert most, if not all, of my entire leagues this year.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know it was kind of our sleepers episode, so it was kind of like after round 8, but like Darren Waller goes like right around it. Could be the number 1 guy for Daniel Jones. Whereas, yeah, like he's a Goddard number 3 guy.
Yeah.
So it
sounds like Waller's definitely that guy. They've had to take him out of practices recently just so Daniel Jones could throw to other players. I mean,
in preseason, in a few preseason games, like he just got peppered and came out like, yeah, it could be wheels up for Danny Dimes and Waller here. But that'll do it for our 8 tight end sleepers and busts. Thank you guys for watching. Please give the video a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. And we will be back next week for our hot takes episode, and then a few others that we have planned before the season starts. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.